Audio Jungle.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another edition of Don Mafia Live. That is right. First off, let me double check and make sure I have the correct audio on. I certainly don't. What is this, amateur hour? Folks, welcome to another edition. Man, I felt like I just saw you guys a couple of hours ago. That's honestly because I did. All right, folks, I am live Monday through Friday at 11 a.m. EST and also at 5:15 p.m. EST, bringing you all of the latest breaking Buffalo Bills and NFL news surrounding your favorite professional sports league. I want to give a giant shout out to everybody that is tuning in the chat already. I see a couple of people spamming 30K, and I really appreciate that because that is indeed correct, folks. I have quite recently just broken 30,000 subscribers. Absolutely insane. We had this goal, right? Like we had the goal of 30,000 before week 10. And I say that we basically ended up smashing this goal entirely. And I have nobody to thank except for you guys. You guys are the reason that we were able to do this. And I am so humbled, so happy that you guys were able to make that happen for me. Please sound off in the chat. Let me know what team you're representing, where you were tuning in from, as we end up breaking down everything that happened at Buffalo Bills practice today and also the dreaded injury report. That is correct. We have a lot of players that showed up on the injury report this afternoon that we need to discuss whether or not that I foresee them playing against the Indianapolis Colts on Sunday, maybe more long-term repercussions, and then also the Indianapolis Colts injury report, something we have to take a look at. Sound off in the chat. Let me know where you are tuning in from. We have a great episode lined up for you today. Practice update. Sorry about that, guys. I forgot to update the description. Practice and injury report update. Bang, baby. Let's go ahead and do this. Bang. Let's do it. What's going on, everybody? How you doing? 85 of you in here already. 59 on YouTube, 25 on X, guys. Smash that like button. Pump this like button up to 100 within the next couple of minutes. We have Ryan coming in from Florida. Ryan, how are you? Hope all is well. Buffalo, New York, and you already know my team. Have a congratulations on 30K. Thank you so much. Lawton, Oklahoma, the Billin. What is going on, dude? Hope all is well. Well, to wrap it all up in one, we didn't draft anybody during the end of the trade deadline at linebacker, run stopper. So when we make it to the playoffs, we might lose. I wouldn't necessarily say that. We ended up bringing in Phillips and also Quentin Jefferson, who I wanted to say had like 9 or 10 sacks last year. Solid run defenders. I think that we did, and we got a hell of a lot cheap. We honestly don't have a lot of money. And like, here's like how I look at things, guys. I feel like we have short-term memory. And the one thing that I have been continuously seeing for the past couple of days, even after the trade deadline, was people who are just like, oh, man, Brandon Beane never does this. He never makes like that all-in sort of move. Folks, what was Amari Cooper? What was Amari Cooper to you? If Brandon Beane didn't make an all-in move, what was Amari Cooper to you? That's the question. That's typically what I like throwing out there. He certainly has. We have some injuries on the defensive side of the football. Matt Milano comes back, have some big bodies in the defensive tackle category. Hopefully, Daquan Jones is just playing through some sort of issue, some sort of injury. I feel like he'll be completely fine. Hey, Dan, sorry I'm late. Go Bills from California. No issue at all, man. I appreciate you always coming in. Jacksonville, go Bills. South Jersey is in the chat. What is up? What's up, Mafia? South Buffalo here. Beth B, what is going on? That is where I grew up. South Buffalo. Bills fan from Florida. Look at that, man. What's up, Dan? It's Steve. Think we're going to get any more free agents? Damn Mitchell is in the chat. I have a doppelganger in here. Absolutely drove me crazy with that. Love that. What's up, Dan and Steve? Think we're going to get any more free agents? I mean, maybe Micah Hyde here in a little bit since we don't have a safety and we only have 4 safeties on the roster right now. But for now, I don't think we're going to be signing any other free agents unless we absolutely have to, right? Like having to fill in a gap if, for example, there's some sort of significant injury. We have Julian in the chat, a Carolina Panthers fan. What is going on, my guy? Hope all is well. We have Amari Cooper is mid. Joe Rist is in the chat. Hi, Dan. Congrats on 30K. Well deserved. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Yeah, guys, listen, we just ended up cracking 30,000 subscribers earlier this morning. Absolutely incredible. That was the goal. All the way up into week 10, we wanted 30K. And in August, we ended up cracking 25K. So that means that we ended up doing it about 2 to 3 months. So the goal, and this is a lofty goal, ladies and gentlemen, we want 50,000 before the end of the regular season. I know it's absolutely insane, but I'm not going to sell you guys short, because the fact of the matter is, you guys completely blew my mind with how fast we were able to grow this season. So if you haven't already, subscribe to the channel and turn on bell notifications and make this happen, man. Make it work, make it work, make it work. Best update on Keon from South Padre Island, Texas. Best update on Keon. Richard Stack is coming on in. What's going on, man? South Padre. I spent a spring break there in college at one point. Absolutely beautiful, beautiful place. And listen, I love this question because that's basically the entirety of this episode, is really breaking down exactly what we can expect from some of the players we've been seeing. Starting off with our good friend Kat Stumbo in here. Hi, Dan. Hope you are having a great day. I'm having a wonderful day, Kat. Thank you so much for always coming in. Being an everydayer, man. I see a lot of you everydayers in here, and I genuinely appreciate that. Let's make this happen. Okay, so the big question is Keon Coleman, right? So wide receiver, wrist injury. He was listed as do not practice. As I go through each and every single one of these names on the injury report, folks, do keep in mind that this was exclusively a walkthrough. Walkthrough meaning that there's not contact, no pads. It's basically like a midsummer training camp with shorts and a t-shirt sort of situation. That's why we ended up seeing players like Christian Benford, saw Amari Cooper as either limited or full participant during the first day of practice last week, was due to the fact that there was no pads, no contact. So this injury report, unfortunately, doesn't always tell us or give us a really good sign of what to expect, as this specific game tends to creep closer. Now, Keon Coleman specifically, here's where we're at, okay? Somebody ended up pointing out, in fact, one of my followers did this the other day. And so I'm going to go on ahead and I'm going to pull up this picture. And then I'm going to go on ahead and tell you guys what Sean McDermott had to say today. Shout out to Jordan in the chat. Okay. This right here is Keon. And so I'm not sure if you guys can see, but this was when he was volunteering over at a local elementary school. What you can see from his hand, and I think you might need to zoom in a little bit. I'm trying to zoom in on my screen. I just can't do it as of right now. But it looks like he was wearing a bit of a cast on his hand, right? And based off of what my follower sent me, he told me, he was just like, look, so my kid was there, and he said for the vast majority of the time, he had his jersey wrapped around his hand, or he was covering his hand so people couldn't see. But this right here is the best image that we can find of him blatantly trying to hide that hand from the public. So something that we can certainly keep in mind right there. Then when you end up going into here, let me go ahead and pull this back up. Sean McDermott spoke to the media today, and he said that while he is not technically ruled out for Sunday, it could be a week, it could be two, it could be an injury that could last more than a week, were his exact words. So if I was a gambling man, this is what I am suggesting. I think that he did not break his hand, but I think it is sprained or maybe some sort of ligament damage. And unfortunately, I think that we will not see Keon Coleman until after the bye week against the San Francisco 49ers. That is my educated guess, is that we will likely not see him until after the bye week, right before we play the 49ers. Now, here's the thing. I would absolutely love that. Would love if, for example, that he could be out there versus the Kansas City Chiefs. Hell, I would love if that dude was able to be out there against the Indianapolis Colts. But listen, like I said at the beginning of this stream, I feel like a lot of us have forgotten that we ended up signing and trading for Amari Cooper. So this has to be an Amari Cooper game, and it has to be Khalil Shakir. Stop sleeping on Khalil Shakir. He's one of the most underrated wide receivers in the game. I feel confident going up against this Indianapolis Colts team, which I am going to preview and break down in depth tomorrow. But yeah, as far as Keon Coleman, in my opinion, I honestly think that this guy, we are just not going to see him until after the bye week, and that is against the San Francisco 49ers. That is going to be my take when it comes into it. Shout out to MK Perez, Buffalo, New York, 14216. Let's go, Buffalo. Allen MVP. Shout out to my boy MK in the chat. You are the absolute man, bro. Thank you so much. We have DJ. We don't need Keon for the Colts. We certainly do not. I hope Keon is okay. We got Go Bills. We got William rolling on in from Switzerland. What's going on? Fuck, Keon's going to be missed for sure. I'll tell you what, man. It is absolutely terrible. Hate to not see him be out there. What's good, Dan? And you surprised Bills haven't signed Hyde yet? I mean, look, so when it comes down into it, I don't think that it's completely out of the realm of possibility. We did just end up bringing back two other names that have been attached to the Buffalo Bills for a long time. That is Jordan Phillips and Quentin Jefferson. Both have been on this team, both at the defensive tackle position. And say that you look at it, we basically have two guys on the defensive line that are basically on IR, right? So you have Carter, and then obviously you also end up having Smoot, which is a massive loss. That was the biggest piece of the roster that we needed to fill. Now we have four safeties on the roster, and that is DeMar Hamlin. That's Cam Lewis. He can play both. And then obviously Rapp and then Cole Bishop. If, for example, we see any sort of injury whatsoever, hopefully not, we'll knock on wood here. That's when I think we bring back Micah Hyde. I still feel like he is going to be a last case scenario if that is the case. We have John Mitchell coming in. We need to stop throwing the quick screen passes. Everyone is catching on to it, especially Miami. There was at least 2 or 3 times they could have intercepted Josh Allen. It was really, really close. First off, I do like this short pass game, especially when we're throwing it to Khalil Shakir. He's definitely killing it with overall yak. And as far as stretching it downfield, like most NFL defenses aren't allowing that in general. Hence why we're seeing a lot of these offenses nowadays sort of mimic that approach. Like just go on ahead and just make that short pass attack and make it work. Jacob, hey, Dan, I love your videos. Go Bills. Jacob, thank you so much. I love you. Fun fact, man. Thank you so much for coming on in and showing me a little bit of love. But anyway, all right. So like we said about Keon Coleman, he did not practice, but Christian Benford did in full. Now, what I do want to say is based off of what I've learned from Christian Benford today is that he appears to be completely fine. He said that it was just something that was bothering him. And he said, quote unquote, I'm straight, which is good. It's solid to see from our star cornerback, which I think really doesn't get enough credit at the end of the day. And so I really don't think that it gets enough credit at the end of the day. But again, have to keep in mind right now, with Christian Benford, this was a walkthrough practice. No contact, shorts and t-shirt sort of situation. So we will see tomorrow. We will probably have a better answer. But if I am a gambling man, I am going to assume that he is completely fine. As far as Amari Cooper, as far as Kyer Elam and Reggie Gilliam, according to Sean McDermott, was the only player that was not going to practice. But as you can see, he was limited. All right. But this is a walkthrough. And then Amari Cooper and Kyer Elam, I have a feeling that Amari is going to be activated. I do have a feeling that he should be good. We have a guy named Damn Mitchell in the chat. Hey, guys, let's get to 31,000 subscribers. Folks, listen, I appreciate you guys getting me over at 30K right now. As many of you guys know, my goal is 50,000 before the end of the regular season. I think we can do it. I genuinely believe that we can do it. And even if I can't convince you based off of the content that I give you each and every single day, I'm going to bribe the hell out of you, man. That's what I'm going to do. I'm giving away this James Cook signed jersey. A James Cook signed jersey, folks. Could be one of yours. All right? And so far this season, I ended up giving away a Josh Allen rookie card. I ended up giving away a full-size Keon Coleman helmet, a mini signed Keon Coleman helmet, and also a signed Keon Coleman football. And I have so many other things to give away to you guys for the remainder of the season. So if you want to be a part of all of these giveaways, highly recommend that you go on ahead and you subscribe to the channel and also make yourself a free pristine auction account. Link is in the bio, baby. Did Bernard play last week? He did not. No, he did play last week. He's still limited, though, when it comes into Bernard. Let me see if we have our boy up in here. He's full. He's completely fine. He's good to go. He was just interviewed earlier, and he was talking about how excited he was to play with Matt Milano. Hopefully, Milano's back by December. Maybe even against the San Francisco 49ers would be ideal, but we shall see. Darius Harris, Keon will be out for the next 3 games. See, the good thing is that with Keon Coleman, we do have a bye week here in 3 weeks. So ideally, best case scenario, he misses the Colts. He misses the Kansas City Chiefs, which is less than ideal. But then again, maybe it's not, because that's just one more weapon we could potentially have as we face off against the Kansas City Chiefs in the playoffs that they have no experience with. So maybe it's a blessing in disguise. Maybe it's a blessing in disguise. Who knows at this point? But yes, I would agree. It's probably going to be about 2 games, and then we just so happen to have a bye week, and then hopefully after the fact, he'll be good against the San Francisco 49ers. No, not when we are playing in the playoffs, when our playoff spot is guaranteed. At this point, that looks like week 11, where we can clinch a spot if we win our next 2. We have DJ. Can the jersey be shipped to Toronto? Yeah, most definitely. I can go ahead and ship it over really anywhere. And so to be completely honest with you, because all of the shipping costs are a tax write-off for your boy. So doesn't matter. If you win, I don't care where you're located, baby. You could be located on Mars, bro. I would get that over to you. Trade White to the Rams. Trade White to the Rams. Well, he just ended up getting sent over to the Baltimore Ravens yesterday, as a matter of fact. I can see us bringing Hyde back after the Kansas City game, so he's got the bye to get ready and freshen up on the playbook. I could, but here's the deal. I feel like this coaching staff is really trying to put a lot of effort into making sure we have as many big bodies as possible on the defensive line side of things, particularly on the interior side of the defensive line, hence why Hyde wasn't back. But I still think Hyde is on ice. I still think he is on ice, and I'm still convinced he will be a Buffalo Bill at some point. I would say probably around December, if I had to guess. I made my Pristine Auction account and can't wait to do some shopping of my own. Well, let me tell you what, man. Love Pristine Auction, proud sponsor of this channel. It's the best place to get all of your signed memorabilia, bar none. Absolutely love that. We have Beth B. Do we know what the injury is that Keon suffered? I know it's a wrist, but what type of wrist injury? Beth, great question. I don't think that they ended up giving any specifics. As usual, this team is keeping a lot of it to the vest. From what I understand, if you ever get to a point where his x-rays are negative, which that is the case, but he still needs further tests, I'm going to go on ahead and I'm going to assume that it's either sprained or it is some sort of ligament damage, one of the two. Hopefully he can have a speedy recovery and get back as soon as humanly possible. That would be ideal. We have the October King 100. I have been waiting for Curtis Samuel breakout game for the Bills, but it just hasn't happened. It's funny about Curtis Samuel, right? Because I feel like it's layered. And so I feel like that there's like a layered reasoning behind why Curtis Samuel has not had a crazy game. Number one, he did have a turf toe injury that occurred during training camp. He suffered with turf toe for the past couple of years. It is a lingering, nasty injury that's very difficult to heal from. Number two, I honestly think that Brady is trying to make him a gadget guy or a gimmick guy, someone that was similar to Hardy for us last year, or maybe even Isaiah McKenzie. And that's not truly where he flourishes. Here's the deal. If there's any game where Curtis Samuel could potentially go off, and granted, of course, because dude was limited with a pectoral, have him on the outside. Line him up on the outside exactly where you had Keon Coleman, and that is precisely where he excels. He runs a 4.3 40. He has great separation, somewhat solid hands. I think that Curtis Samuel could potentially be a weapon for us against Indianapolis and a great insurance policy until Keon Coleman ends up getting back. But the question now is, will Joe Brady actually utilize him in that capacity? How significant is his turf toe? How much is that holding him back? How significant is this pectoral injury? That's the question. I think it's either a lot of bad luck as far as his health is concerned, or I just think that Joe Brady is really trying to force him to be a Deontay Hardy or an Isaiah McKenzie sort of player rather than what he truly should be for this offense. That is my overall take. Dan, if we beat the Colts, will the Bills clinch the AFC East? No, not yet. Especially since the Jets ended up beating So the Jets ended up beating the Texans last week, and I'm trying to think who the Jets have this week. Let me see. Say that the Jets keep on winning. Jets schedule. Let me double check here. So they have the Cardinals next week. Say that the Jets end up beating the Cardinals, and then they beat the Colts and the Seahawks, etc., and go through their bye week. I think the soonest that we could win, since we already have we have a 4-game lead on them at that point. So the absolute latest, as long as we end up doing business of our own, I'm going to go on ahead and guess that we end up clinching the division once we end up getting to 12 wins. Look for, I'm trying to think. We already have that. We already have 12, 13. Check the Bills' schedule. So when I'm going to predict that we clinch, so the AFC East, I have a feeling that the Buffalo Bills will clinch the AFC East by December 8th. I honestly think that we clinch on the 8th, and that's against the Rams, maybe even against the Lions or the Pats on the 22nd. But I'm eyeing December 8th for the day, as long as we walk out with a victory against LA for yet another division title. That's kind of where I'm at. Pristine Auction is awesome, and they give you free cash to spend on the site from time to time. Holy hell, man. Love it. A med student here, if it is a ligament damage, even a partial tear, can have him out 6 to 7 weeks. Let's go on ahead and hope for the best. All right, so DJ. So we'll ask you this, and I'm very glad that you're in here. What could be the issue that would make him out for 2 to 3 weeks? What would be the issue that would have a timeline like that, right? Because obviously, I'm sure they probably would have announced that his hand was broken. Maybe it's not a ligament issue, but say that Coach McDermott is not bullshitting us right now. What could be something that's 2 to 3 weeks, like a sprain? Let us know. Let us know, man. Listen, dude, we have medical in here right now. Absolutely love that. Absolutely love that. Keon is soft. We have Joe Rist in the chat, man. Most delusional Dolphins fan I've ever met. I love it. Samuel is a route runner. I agree. Get him on the outside. Experiment with it, for the love of God, right? This whole I'm sorry, we're going to make you a gadget player just because it worked that 1 year while he was in Carolina, where they had absolutely zero quarterback and he had to be, and that was one of their only weapons. Sure. Line him up on the outside on Sunday. See what he can do. And say that he turns out to be a bust, then whatever. That sucks, especially since we ended up signing him to a damn 3-year contract. In fact, I'm kind of curious to see how this contract looks like right now. So I haven't had an opportunity of checking it out. We have Curtis Samuel. I'm really curious to see what we gave this dude. All right. So he is signed this year in 2024 for 1.2. Has a guaranteed salary of $5.9 million in 2025. So we keep that in mind. Say, for example, that we cut post June 1st. That's significant dead. That's significant dead cap. $7.6 million, and we would only save about $1.5 million toward the cap by itself. This team obviously can make a lot of room for next offseason for free agency signings, et cetera, et cetera. But for the most part, folks, based off of how this contract is all set up, we have to make this work. So, Joe Brady, if by some way or reasoning that you were sitting here and watching this, we need to make sure that we can make this Curtis Samuel thing work, man. We have to make sure that this works. Trump won, go Bills. All right, man. We have politics in the chat. Politics in the chat, man. Ball only, baby. Ball only. Maybe they call up KJ. Perhaps. Yo, Dan, I can't contain my temptations from Pristine Auction any longer. Should I get the blue or the red Bills helmet signed by Jim Kelly? Well, fun fact, I actually have that blue helmet signed by Jim Kelly right behind us. It's beautiful. It's unique. I'd go with the blue, my friend. I would go with the blue. And listen, if you do end up winning your bid, just use code DMitch10 for $10 off of your first winning bid. It's an addicting website, y'all. Listen, I told you, looks like I've need to average 120 yards a game for the next few weeks. That's Khalil Shakir. And if anyone can get it done, he can get it done. This chat wouldn't be fun without the delusional Dolphins fans. That's what makes it interesting. That's what makes it great. And then we have DJ coming in with some further analysis on the Keon injury. My guess is that Keon has tendonitis. It's inflammation caused by incorrect motions, incorrect positioning with a hit, or overstretched. And to get the parts back in correct position, they would use a cast. All right. Well, let's hope that that is certainly it, because we know that Jordan Poyer went out there and like literally hit that man like a damn missile head first. Thanks a lot, J-Po. I'm just kidding. I'm sure it wasn't on purpose, but still, thank you so much, DJ. I really hope that you are in all of these streams so you can break down as much as humanly possible. Maybe we can even end up having some sort of agreement for Roundtable Sports. We are looking for a blogger that analyzes injuries across the league. Let me know. Shoot me a DM if you're interested there. Poor TD, not. Chiefs will three-peat. We have Maddox in the chat. Maddox, I'm assuming you must be a Chiefs fan. It's completely fine. Welcome into the chat. Hey, Dan, I need to know what jersey to get for Christmas. Should I get Cook, Davis, Cooper, or me? Ooh. All right, man. Here's the deal. So when it comes into Buffalo Bills jerseys, for me, I have a very difficult time like actually wanting to go on ahead and invest in somebody, especially a running back, because who knows how long that they are going to be relevant on the team, number one, and number two, how long are they going to be on the team? Not a lot of running backs are getting long contracts anymore. Most teams out there and most organizations are essentially using exclusively these rookie contracts for running backs. So wouldn't do that. As far as longevity, I would go Josh Allen, Shakir, or sleeper pick. So I go Christian Benford, who I have a feeling is going to be a household name with the Buffalo Bills for a very, very, very long time. Those are the top three jerseys that I would invest in, just because I know that they are likely going to be on the team for the longest amount of time, of course, barring any sort of significant injury. Nicholas Dowsett, Poyer is the best double agent since the Soviets. What do we know about that? That sure would help me with my student loans. All right. Yeah, man. Listen, dude, we'll talk about it a little bit. We're leaning out a little bit as the season is ending, but maybe we'd be able to help you out a little bit when it comes into some injuries. Wouldn't even be just Bills stuff, though. Like, would be injuries all across the league. Injuries that people really give a shit about, if that makes sense. Shakir, hey, Dan, I need to know what jersey to get for Christmas. Absolutely insane. Alan, for sure. We have EJ in the chat. Guys, 163 of you in the chat right now in total, 118 on YouTube, 44 of you on X. Do me a favor, smash that like button. Easiest way to show some love at what we're doing over here on the channel. Thank you again for 30,000 subscribers. Absolutely insane. But that is the injury report so far that we have seen from the Buffalo Bills. And then one other we wanted to point out, because yes, we are playing the Indianapolis Colts. Fun fact, this guy is not going to be on the injury report since, of course, he was listed on the IR. However, Ryan Kelly, their starting center, is on the IR. He will not be playing against the Buffalo Bills. Massive, massive miss for the Colts, especially with Joe Flacco out there. Listen, he's a gunslinger. He's making it happen, but he needs a quality offensive line in order to do Joe Flacco things. And then when you end up looking in even deeper into how the Colts are looking right now, Michael Pittman Jr., back/finger, he did not practice. And when you end up looking, let me go ahead and do this real fast. Michael Pittman Jr., let's go ahead and check this out. And so I'm not going to make excuses for it. If I am out there, I am out there. No excuses. So one catch the last two games. Obviously, I'd like to be more productive. All right. So he's been hurting. We have Pittman Jr. when it comes to doing effing nothing every week. All right. So sounds like Colts fans are very upset with Michael Pittman Jr. That's something to think about. But he is a massive miss right now for the Indianapolis Colts. And so you hate to see that. You genuinely hate to see that. But it's certainly an advantage for the Buffalo Bills. So now we have to worry about Downs and then also A.D. Mitchell. Although that he really hasn't been having a stellar rookie season whatsoever. By the way, I called it. I'm sorry. But yeah, then afterwards, we have 3 tackles are actually on the injury report, although that they were designated as full participants. But again, keep in mind, that these were all walkthroughs. So something to consider. Dan, how are we going to stop Jonathan Taylor? That's a great question, Square. That's a great question. Last time that we played Jonathan Taylor in 2021, he went for like 158 yards and 5 touchdowns. He absolutely ate against the Buffalo Bills. Here's my thing. This Bills team has the ability of stopping the run when we commit to the run, right? Perfect example had to be against the Seattle Seahawks, where we took Kenneth Walker and held him to like 12 yards. I know that this Seattle Seahawks offensive line has some issues, is what it is. If Christian Benford is back, I do see this Buffalo Bills team just running a single high safety, trusting Benford and trusting Rasul Douglas to cover Josh Downs and A.D. Mitchell, who I have all the confidence in the world that they would be able to get that done. And then I just see us like having one extra person right in the box. I see us having Phillips. I see us having Quentin Jefferson out there as those big bodies in the middle. Not necessarily starting, but certainly getting a hell of a lot more snaps. Watch this Buffalo Bills defense commit to the run. That is going to be my take. On top of that, what also would be interesting, this defense over in Indianapolis, which we are going to unpack tomorrow during my preview, this team is not very good defensively. Okay? Not very good defensively. So as long as we just run up the score immediately and don't like mess around and have a slow first half of the game, score in our first 2 to 3 possessions, they're going to have to rely on the pass game, and Jonathan Taylor won't even be much like really of a factor. So that's going to be it. However, I do have a feeling that this Buffalo Bills team is, for the most part, going to commit to the run and run a lot of single high safety and trust Christian Benford and Rasul Douglas to cover Josh Downs and A.D. Mitchell. They just don't have the personnel where we aren't going to be able to, right? And if Benford is back, I'm feeling very comfortable about our defense being able to limit it. Now, Taylor is a very talented running back. He will get his, but I do think that Sean McDermott will have a bit of an answer for it. Should we still be skeptical of Bass after last week, or is he fully redeemed in your eyes? Fun fact about Tyler Bass. In fact, I'm going to go ahead and point out my good friend Kevin, because he posted this earlier today on his X account. And certainly go follow Kevin on X. He is a must follow over on the platform. What's great about Tyler Bass is that he gets better as the season goes on. He's money down the stretch. So let me go on ahead and show you what his statistics are in the month of November and the month of December. Okay. He is 43 for 46 in his career in November. He is 51 for 53 in his career in the month of December. 93.5, 96.2. Excuse me. Never mind. Let's get back into field goals made. 35 for 41 in November. He's 85.4. And in December, he is 92. This is statistical. I have no idea why he struggles so much in September. I have no idea why he struggles so much in October. But the light is at the end of the tunnel. The light is at the end of the tunnel for Tyler Bass. Statistically, he is getting into his money season, quote unquote. And I said this a couple of times. I was under the impression that Tyler Bass had the yips. Something was bothering him after a while. But statistically, and what the stats suggest is that his best is right around the corner. That's where we are, baby. That's where we are, man. Let me see where my boys are. And so I would say past the bye week, we have DJ coming on in once again. But I'm not a doctor yet, but I trust the Bills medical team. Look at that. Hey, listen, you're studying. You're just about there, my friend. Best of luck. Dan, do we beat the San Francisco 49ers? So I'll tell you what, man, I have a very difficult time at predicting games that aren't right in front of me because I don't understand what the team looks like from an injury report perspective. I don't see trends in how particular players are playing. I don't see weaknesses. Like on paper, say, for example, we were playing the San Francisco 49ers this week, then yeah, most definitely. I think that we would beat them this week because I think Brock Purdy is proving everybody wrong or proving everybody correct. It really depends on what side of the aisle that you were on in the first place. I think that if Brock Purdy does not have a perfect functioning offensive system around him, he's just not the same quarterback. He's had 3 games already where he's had like a 53% completion percentage since he has been out there. Now you don't have so your number 1 wide receiver who is out for the year right now. Yes, you have Christian McCaffrey coming back, but how long is it going to take for him to really ramp up at that time? I just haven't been impressed with Brock Purdy and how he's been playing football. Obviously, that defense is still pretty solid, but say that the Bills were playing the Niners this week, then you're damn right I would be picking the Buffalo Bills to win this game. However, get back to me after the bye week, and we shall see, because that team could look entirely different. They could be welcoming back a bunch of players that have been out for the past couple of weeks, or maybe they lose somebody even more significant. It's just a part of the game. But where it stands, say the Bills were playing the 49ers this week, I would pick the Buffalo Bills. Rap saves us. He certainly does. Matthew C. Niners are going to probably be fully healthy by the time that we play, but we will be coming off of a bye fully healthy. And what do I want to say? I feel like Sean McDermott is undefeated after the bye. I feel like he's undefeated after the bye, which is a crazy stat if you think about it. Dan, what's been your opinion on the offensive line, specifically the interior, the guards, and the center? So I'll tell you what right now, October King. So my opinion wouldn't be compared to what the advanced analytics are saying. And this is something that really makes me encouraged. And I genuinely think if people want to say, Dan, like, what is the best part of this offense? I would have to say that it was the offensive line. Where it stands right now, this Buffalo Bills team has a top 4 offensive line in pass protection and also in run protection by itself. Some of us might think, particularly when it comes into pass protection, we could say, oh, well, maybe those numbers are skewed because we have a quarterback that tends to extend plays with his legs, right? He could roll outside of the pocket, and those numbers always go and credit the offensive line for that. But as far as pass protection, 110%, dude. It's a Right now, we are 4th in the league for estimated points on average, or EPA, for pass protection. So something to feel very encouraged about. And then also as far as like run blocking as well, we are top 5. Hence why we're seeing so many great runs from Ray Davis, so many great runs from James Cook so far this year. Are there a couple of things that we do want to like sort of fine tune? Perhaps. At the beginning of the season, we saw so with Osiris Torrance was struggling for the first couple of the games of the season. But you also need to understand that each and every single offensive lineman has chemistry with each other. So both of the guards specifically had to get used to Connor McGovern being right there. Edwards has been a godsend. He has been wonderful at the left guard position. Same thing with Osiris Torrance. The only thing that's pissing me off about our offensive line has to be with the penalties. Like, I feel like that's something that we haven't been discussing enough. And it's hard to be bitching about certain things when your team is 7-2 and we finally feel like we're starting to hit our stride at this point. But the biggest weakness from our offensive line, October, is just pure like undisciplined. And ironically enough, it's coming from Deion Dawkins and Spencer Brown, who are supposed to be the veterans on this line, right? Like, they've had the most experience with this line as far as being on the roster. But as far as doing their job, of course, outside of the penalties, I'd probably have to argue that our offensive line is the reason why this offense has been looking so good so far this year. Very happy. A rupture, tear, or a dislocation were very possible with that hit. Really hope that's not the case. Really hope that's not the case. Sean McDermott had updates on rookie wide receiver Keon Coleman. Coleman hasn't been ruled out versus Indy, but McDermott said it could be more than just a week. Okay. So he's going to be ruled out. I feel like we can just go on ahead and accept that so far. So we need to cut down on pre-snap penalties, but the offensive line has looked pretty good. Exactly, Mark. Exactly. Right? Like, really. So right outside of the false starts and the holdings, although that I'm not going to give a lot of shit to a lot of our offensive linemen, especially last week, because we had so many ghost holding calls. It was absolutely ridiculous. And those false starts are certainly very annoying. EJ, Dan, are you planning to make it to a Bills game this year or next year? Next year, I certainly am. I ended up signing quite a few contracts with some sponsorships So that requires me to be on stream so I can actually plug those sponsorships during my live play-by-play reactions. Hence why I wasn't able to really go to any games this year. But next year, yes, I do plan on going to 2 away and 2 home. But still fingers crossed. So like I ended up announcing, me and Roundtable Sports actually ended up getting approved for NFL media credentials. So we have the opportunity of applying for events. And granted, you still need to apply for each and every single event. However, we do have a pending application right now for the Super Bowl, which is super exciting. We would go there and be on Radio Row, have the ability to talk to players, et cetera, celebrities, blah, blah, blah. So if the Buffalo Bills make the Super Bowl, then I guess you could say, yeah, I am. But fingers crossed that we get approved, but we did end up getting approved just for the overall opportunity of being able to apply for things like that. So fingers crossed, pray for the best. Let's make that happen. Reload Productions. Mike Thomas is the last thing this team needs. Right now, Michael Thomas is driving around the city of New Orleans and like he's antagonizing locals and trying to get them to say that Derek Carr is absolutely terrible. The man is broken. The slant king is no more. Aren't you annoyed with how vague McDermott is with injuries? Yes and no. Like from a fan perspective, 110%. I want him to literally go out there with like a damn PowerPoint presentation of his x-rays and a paragraph explanation of what we are looking for, broken down into layman's terms of what the hell is going on with a particular player. But at the same time, I also look at it and I'm like, I don't want him to be too open because this is being broadcasted all over the internet. It's being broadcasted all over the world. And we know that our enemies or the team that we are about to be playing has access to that information, right? So it makes it more difficult for them to game plan against us. So yes and no, it does. We don't need another Devo. Michael Thomas. Should the Bills cut Von Miller before June 1st next year because of his contract? We have the October King. Let's go on ahead, man. Listen, man, we love having conversations about contracts over on this channel. So I'm going to go on ahead and pull up my handy dandy over the cap tool. Something I highly recommend you guys take a look if you ever have any questions. So here's the deal, my friend. Here's the deal. As you can see, this Buffalo Bills team has Von Miller, okay? Under contract until 2027. We're like, oh, no, man, we're absolutely screwed. But one thing I want to point out. Anytime you ever hear somebody say, oh, but we technically have an out on his contract. Let me teach you exactly what to look for when you hear somebody say, oh, we have an out on that contract. The out, my friend, is looking at this column right here called guaranteed salary. As you can see, he has $0 hairs. He has $0 after this year. So at the beginning of 2025, we are not guaranteeing him any money whatsoever. Now, he would get $17 million as a base salary if he does end up on the roster. Okay? He would get that. If we post June 1st, this guy, $17 million is added to our cap space. $17 million is added to the Buffalo Bills cap space next year if we post June 1st, cut designate Von Miller. Hence why we couldn't do it this year, folks, was just because Stephon Diggs, right? He ended up adding quite a bit for that contract against the Buffalo Bills. We probably could have gotten away with it because we only would have been paying $53,000 for Von Miller not to be playing on this team. But next year, since there's no guarantees in the salary, if we post June 1st cut him, we add $17.5 million on this roster. Kevin, what up, man? 6, excuse me. Thank you, Kevin. Thank you, Kevin. I'm sorry about that. Right here. So, yes, we technically have an out next year. Next year, we have a little bit of an out. Scott, hey, Dan, I just hopped on. Any news if Cooper will be playing Sunday? Go Bills from Southern California. So I haven't heard anything specifically. He was listed as limited today, but keep in mind it was a walkthrough. So we don't know, but I would probably imagine that he would be playing. Kevin, shout out Kevin. What's up, Kev? How you doing, man? We have Kat. Do we have to wait until after the draft or January 1st? Last year, how we did Trey White, we announced it, but it doesn't come off of our books until after June 1st. So we could designate him as a June 1st cut. And then that's it. That's basically how that plays. They cut Diva Diggs and ate that cap. We certainly did. We certainly did, folks. But yeah, $6.3 million would be added, and that is technically our out. But I think all of us are genuinely hoping that we would be able to make this work, right? Hopefully he comes back and he puts up some crazy ass production, but it's going to be very difficult for me to like find him as somebody that would be on the roster after the case. That's kind of where we're at right now. Kind of where we're at, boys. Anyway, let's get back and see what's going on. 196 of you in the chat right now, 140. And so the problem is that he's going to earn bonuses this year. That will be added to next year's number. So Kev, what are you doing, man? And so you want to hop on for a second? All right, Kev, I'm going to see if you want to come on, chill with your boy for a second. I'm going to hit that up real fast. Oh, hold up. Sorry, guys. And so I'm not trying to see you guys have this. Oh, that was weird. Hold up. That was really weird. Hold up. There you go, Kev. It's right there. So I didn't want y'all to see that link so y'all could hop in, but is what it is because I do plan on having some call-in shows a little bit later on this week as well. So I'm chilling, my man. Send it over. Dan, are you going to make it to Bills training camp? I certainly hope so. October King, I wish the Bills could get Dre Greenlaw. We don't have the money, unfortunately. Next year, EJ. Yes. Next year, we're going to have to make it happen, guys. Smash that like button, folks. Subscribe to the channel if you have not already. Again, we ended up surpassing 30,000 subscribers earlier today. Absolutely incredible. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't had an opportunity of doing so. We're planning on doing some things, baby. 50,000 by the end of the regular season. That is the goal, as we are waiting on our good friend Kev to come on in here, chop it up with me a little bit about the Buffalo Bills. He should be backstage here any second. I wish the Bills could get Dre Greenlaw. We have Frank. I like DT Jordan Phillips and DT Quentin Jefferson. Go Buffalo Mob. Go Bills. Frank, he's in the chat. Dan, and do you think Josh Allen will start throwing more INTs as the year goes on? He threw one against the Dolphins and one against the Seahawks. Here's the thing when it comes into his picks, I really don't blame him for either of them. Really, so to be like 100% honest with you, right? Like, so the first one against Amari Cooper, he slipped on his route. And the second one literally bounced off of Keon Coleman's chest. So I think that he maintains this playing it safe with the football sort of thing. And I'm going to guess he probably throws about 6 this year, all in all. Kev! Oh, man, you have a different setup today, dude. You're muted, bro. So you're muted, brother.
What's up, brother? How are you?
What's up, man? You have a different setup today.
I do. Yeah, I'm in my my business office, not my studio today. So, rocking.
Well, you have a studio and a business office.
I do. Yeah, so I'm rocking with more of the business side today, but I'll be in my studio shortly. But I found the Von Miller discussion fascinating.
Yeah. And fun facts as well, like for the longest time, and I'm so glad you like made that correction because like for months, like when I look at this, I always thought because I forgot to explain it to me, or maybe I was watching like some other video where like when you see this number, like that means like you're essentially paying the dude to not be on your roster when it was in parentheses. I always thought that cap savings was on the right and dead money was on the left. I'm wrong.
So if you look at his overall cap number next year, if you're talking
Yeah.
about 2025, $23 million, that's as is. The good thing is you were right. There's no guaranteed money on Von Miller's contract to be guaranteed. Dead cap, though, is money already paid. So a
Yeah.
lot of it has been from restructures or signing bonuses in order to fit him under the cap in previous years. So any dead cap space is going to be, you need to account for it. Although it's already been paid, so he's guaranteed no more dollars. That is true.
Yeah.
However, you need to, just like with Aaron Rodgers' deal, which is an absolute train wreck.
Really?
To another extreme. So they pushed so much money out. That guy's got to keep playing, or they're in a total wreck of a scenario. Von Miller's not quite like that, but it's the same concept, really, where cap number's 23 million. If he's on the roster, that's because of that inflated base salary. However, there's a ton of dead cap space, or excuse me, dead cap hits still because of all the money that the Bills continue to push down the road with him. And they need to make it work, just like the Jets do with Rodgers. It almost behooves them to play him. The difference with Stephon Diggs that's confusing is that the Bills did not want to trade Stephon Diggs in early April. That wasn't in the cards.
Yeah.
They can act like it was. Diggs can act like it. That came out of nowhere, or at least somewhat out of nowhere. They didn't go through a whole free agency and scouting period thinking the receiver one was going to be off the roster. So they do not want to eat that kind of dead cap space again. The better move is if he can still play football, and we'll find out at the second half of the year, and his numbers, his analytics look great, is to do what he did this year and take another lucrative deal where the Bills can have him on the roster as a situational pass rusher. He can still get paid, but that's the other side of the coin. Look at his salary this year. So if you scroll over to the left, his base salary is vet minimum, basically $1.5 million. He's got about $10 million of bonuses worked in there with the suspension. I don't think he'll hit a ton of them, but he's definitely going to have $3 or $4 million of bonuses that are going to be added in here. And because he was unproductive the year before, they call it not likely to be earned incentives, meaning that it's on the future cap. And in this case, it would be 2025 rather than this year in 2024. That's how the Bills got around it by pushing some extra money out again. So it's essentially almost like a restructure that is escalated based on his production this season. And if he plays well down the stretch, which any Bills fan will take, you're going to start adding some numbers in here. And he's basically on the roster. The Bills could move him if he's totally useless. But in theory, you're already going to have a dead cap hit anyways. You're going to try to keep him on the roster for, I would say, one more season is mathematically what makes sense.
So one more season. So you're saying that the quote unquote out, like where it wouldn't be totally detrimental to us, would be in 2026.
Yeah, that's correct.
So we're stuck with this guy, and hopefully we could see some sort of
his dead cap hit is $9 million in 2026.
Yeah.
Per what I have. So they have it at, okay, I mean, their numbers are a tiny bit different. I don't know if they have a different. Scroll over for me.
Yeah.
You did cut. Go. So yeah, okay. So change that to. Click that for me. Change that to post. Oh, you're looking at post June 1. Okay.
Yeah. I was looking at post June 1. Yeah, originally.
Gotcha. Okay. So so go to pre June 1 for me real quick. I'm just curious on his money that he would save. Okay, yeah, he saves a ton of money in 2026. So that is what it's going to look like.
Got it. So in 2026, now I know. All right, perfect. That this is cap savings. This is dead money.
Yeah. So if you look at so go to Spotrac. So one I'm going to teach you. I think it's way better.
Spotrac is better than over the cap.
Yeah. Some people will say the dollars and cents are a little better on over the cap. I debate that. On top of it, Spotrac's a way easier to look at the very least. So search Von Miller for this exam for our discussion.
Okay. Yeah. So it sounds like I'm never using over the cap again. Yeah.
This is way easier to even show on like screen for people too. So
Oh,
scroll down
beautiful.
for me. Yeah, scroll down for me, and it's there you go. So scroll over now for 2025, and there you go. So it'll just tell you the cap hit right there, 23 million, or this year's 14 million dollar cap hit. Scroll over, you see the dead cap hit if cut is 28 million dollars. So that would obviously be to the negative, and then you can play around with the tool, so you can kind of see it right there. So if dead cap is 15 and cap hit is 23. You can see that the difference there is $8 million of cap savings.
So the potential out, they say, is 2025, but it's likely going to be 2026.
Yeah,
Some
some incentives. I mean, you can still get out of it. Like, look, you can still say $3, $4, and $5 million if you want.
Yeah,
they could do that. It's just not. It's look at the dead cap hit though in 2025. If you scroll back over,
you're
going to be eating.
It's not worth it.
You're going to be eating $16 million. There you go. So you're going to be eating $15.4 million next season to cut him.
Yeah.
It's a ton of money to eat.
So rather do the 9. Okay.
I'd rather do the 9. Yeah. Look at the savings the following year. You're looking at a $19 million savings.
Let's do that. That. All right. Dang.
You got to take your medicine one more year of him. If he's really, really bad and unproductive, you might do it.
Yeah.
But if he gives you 1 year of good football here at the end of the year, see what you can squeeze next year, and that'll do it.
Yeah. So I think you and I have definitely been on the same page where like we were under the theory and stuff like that like this team sort of had the answers to stop the run as long as we have the ability to commit to it. And we a lot of the times allow teams to run on us. Has your thought process on that changed at all watching the production from the Dolphins this past Sunday with all those, like swing passes, et cetera, et cetera? Like, what's up with that?
Nah, they crafted a really desperate game plan against the Bills. One where they have what I've been speaking about is they learned how to use their running game without a quarterback. So they did do that well. They learned how to run the ball. They didn't have a quarterback. Mike McDaniel does know how to coach from a Shanahan offense. Like he's smart in that regards, and said, we're going to keep it. Look at what it cost them though. No more Jalen Waddle in their offense. He's basically non-existent. A really high price receiver too. You can't get the ball to him. That's what it comes at that cost. And you need to be virtually perfect, which Tua was. He played a really good football game. They were very desperate. Like basically their season borderline pseudo divisional playoff game for them, to where if they lose, they're in a world of hurt. And you got the best version of the Dolphins. And ultimately, when you're running the ball like that, they still were ineffective on short yardage situations.
They were. Yeah.
Ultimately, the Bills analytics and stats will tell you the Bills are really good at stopping the run in the biggest moments. So that affects your analytics so highly that an 8-yard run on first down on the 30 doesn't really have a high negative analytic. It's the odds they can continue to do that for 4 quarters are pretty low. And ultimately, ultimately, that's the kind of game they gave the ball back to the Bills offense. And they're all the analytics would say they still had a negative EPA running the ball, the Dolphins. And ultimately they had some pretty good success on first down. They did for sure. The Bills do need to clean that up a lot. Their first down success, a little bit too much for my liking. And that's kind of where the whole notion they can't stop the run is, because of how bad first down looks. But the analytics will tell you, you want to bait a team to run on first down all the time. That usually results in.
Yeah, right. It's light boxes, et cetera, and everything like that.
You're taking their best players out of the game. Yes, Achane is good. I like Devon Achane. But this game plan could be different. Like when you play the Colts and you see Joe Flacco across the field, you're doing everything you can to take Jonathan Taylor out of the game to hurt Michael Pittman. I mean, that's what you're doing. And then Downs is gonna, you're gonna have to beat zone coverage all day. Josh Downs is definitely gonna have to look for those soft spots in the zone. But in my opinion, you're gonna see a game plan that almost mimics the Seattle game plan. That's what the Bills are gonna do on defense with Kenneth Walker. They're gonna bait Jonathan Taylor. They're gonna actually try to probably stop the run like you saw in Seattle, way better than they did against Tua and Jalen Waddle and Tyreek Hill, and an effective Jonnu Smith.
Got it. So big questions, Keon Coleman, right? So like I said, someone ended up sending me a picture or whatever. He was at like his kid's elementary school, saw what looked to be like a rap or whatnot. We hear from Sean McDermott. He says, well, he's not technically ruled out, but it could be longer than a week. The typical Sean McDermott fashion. Thoughts? My like thought process is that it's probably slightly aggravated, and I just have a gut feeling that we're not going to see him until after the bye week against San Francisco.
It's probably reasonable.
That's kind of where I'm at. What are you thinking about?
It's reasonable, but you could assume with the nature of the Chiefs game that they're really going to push for it to rest and rehab this week. If Keon Coleman's the difference between winning and losing against the Colts, you hope you're not that even with the Colts.
Yeah.
If you are, then it is what it is. But you're hoping that wouldn't have been the difference. And you're going to try to push him for next week, knowing that he has another week off in between the next game. I can't imagine that unless he seriously can't play, they wouldn't try to have him in for the Chiefs. But you're right. And it conceivably does make a lot of sense for it to be a 2-week injury. And then get a bonus week with that. But from what I heard, it could have been worse. Like, honestly, it definitely could have been worse.
Yeah, I mean, really was a missile from Jordan Poyer there. You know what I mean? I mean, crossing our fingers is nothing significant, but
I think 1 week is very safe. I think they're probably going to push for next week. The Bills have been known to sit players just for 1 week to rest. Like, look at the Bernard injury. They really did push that a little bit. Look at the, Taron obviously had to sit out the four basically, but Khalil Shakir on 1 week on the ankle, Benford 1 week on the wrist. So I do think the precedent is there that 1 week they're going to try for the Chiefs game, unless, they're probably doing whatever they can to rehab it to get the news for the Chiefs game. But yeah, if he can't get back for then, he does get the bonus week back for the 49ers is a scenario, but I think they're going to push for the Chiefs game, and it doesn't seem overly severe. But that's from the injury people I spoke to. A week will definitely help though.
Yeah. See, like, you would hope that Amari Cooper will be good. So by Sunday, which, I'm assuming that he will. And there's a reason why we ended up trading for him, right? Is to have one more weapon out there. And then as far as Curtis Samuel, I know that he has been a massive disappointment this year. Maybe it's because Joe Brady is trying to make him like a Deontay Hardy or an Isaiah McKenzie. I wonder if he finally steps up. I wonder what he could potentially be filling in for Keon Coleman right on the outside. Could you potentially see him like having success out there? And do you think that Joe Brady is just having him out of position? Is his turf toe like still bothering him from training camp, or does he just suck, Kevin?
You know me, I'm pretty positive. I don't have any hopes for Curtis Samuel. I don't see it. I don't see it in his game. I think he's a step slow. I didn't love the signing, but I thought Brady would have something cooked up for him. It's not there. He's not a good player. He's not a good player. It is what it is. We can blame it on the turf toe, but he hasn't been good for many years. He's a 400-yard receiver. Maybe the turf toe is limiting him a little bit from that. He can't run a smooth route tree. He's really shown no efficiency to beat zone coverage. What's the problem? Here's the problem, Dan. In Washington and Carolina, you didn't have to run too many too high shells and too confusing looks with they didn't have a passing game. You're talking about Sam Howell. You're talking about, some of the worst quarterbacks in the league. Yeah. So the counterintuitive would say, well, he's only played with bad quarterbacks. Yeah, well, they don't care. Like they're not baiting you as much in those offenses. The problem now is he's with Josh Allen in too high looks. He can't find the spot in the zone, in my opinion. So they're goofing around and they're using them in sprint motion. They're using them on drag routes. You may see him Isaiah McKenzie effective against man, but it doesn't seem like he's winning too many reps there. Josh Allen doesn't have the rapport with him all around. And then the turf toe's limiting him, if at all, even a little bit. It's just not there for him. The Bills, you wrap it up and see if you can play. You got him next year too. That's the thing. So talk about contracts. It's pull up Spotrac. It's not ideal. It's not an ideal scenario, but I hopefully see him take maybe another offseason with the Bills. I personally don't think he's very good. So could be fooled. I could be proven wrong though.
Yeah. Well, let's definitely hope for the best. Last question. We obviously end up bringing back some familiar faces, some Jordan Phillips and Quentin Jefferson. Why exactly do you think that we made that move? Obviously with Dwayne Carter on the IR, Smoot needed some depth in that overall category, but do these guys have any answers for us, at this defensive line? I feel like for the past couple of weeks, haven't really been doing a good job of getting to the quarterback, especially those first down run scenarios. Why were these guys added? Exclusively just for roster spots, or do you see them actually still having something in the tank that could help out this defensive line?
Beans referenced this before, and I think it had to play a role in it. Well, a couple of reasons. Everyone wanted a Sebastian Day.
Yeah.
And it comes to find out that actually would have hurt the Bills' compensation formula a lot. And if you would have acquired him because he was a free agent, it's like you signed him in free agency, and thus it would have cost you another 5th-round pick to cancel out the Leonard Floyd signing. So now not only are you going to lose the 5th, they're probably going to want a 5th on top of it. And it just didn't make a ton of sense. I'm assuming there had to have been discussions with Mike Edwards because that's where he went. So it would have made sense that they were trying to figure out a way to make that deal work. It doesn't make any sense that the Titans wanted to stash him on their 2-win team. It doesn't make a ton of sense what some of those teams are thinking between them and the Giants with not selling anybody. I don't understand it. But they're trying to be as competitive as possible because this league, unlike other leagues like baseball, you need to win. And they're going to do everything they can to go out swinging. These desperate head coaches and GMs are going to do anything they can do to win. And that's why you didn't see some of those bad teams materializing. But these guys can come in right away, Dan, and know the defense. And that's huge. Like, they don't want to sign somebody that needs 7 weeks. By that time, you have Carter back. By that time, they get cut. Like, Jordan Phillips can come in and take 12 snaps like tomorrow. So that probably did have a little bit of a factor, and that probably would really help. Obviously, he's basically free, but what it would have helped from there, they didn't have to give up anything for him. So they probably figured the difference between Jefferson and Phillips to Sebastian Day, like, it
just didn't make sense.
It's marginal plus the assets. That's really what started to flow it back. Okay, I can get 2 DTs that can play in my second team tomorrow for nothing. These guys just randomly get caught on the trade deadline. The Bills were probably, I would assume, were in discussions to trade for Jefferson, and then maybe it looks a little different. But I tweeted earlier that Bean got out of it by not having to give up any picks and still getting some DTs that weren't available a week ago. So it's not like these guys have been sitting out all season. They were on rosters. So ultimately, getting free 2 defensive tackles for free on your second team defense is probably valuable enough to where it's like, I'm not overly interested in trading a 5th or 4th right now when these guys maybe, like I said, maybe a tick down, but they have to balance that between, if they're getting 15 snaps, how much more percentage-wise is that going to affect this defense? Not enough to trade the asset.
No. I totally understand that. Last question, I lied. Since Mike Edwards basically forced himself out, right? I'm sure we were trying to shop around for him. I'm sure we were trying to go on ahead and get like a 7th-round pick, but the league just didn't see the value in him, just like our team didn't. I've heard Micah Hyde's name be thrown around a lot. All right, right now we have 4 players on the safety depth chart. We have Cam Lewis, Damar Hamlin, we have Taylor Rapp, and then obviously Cole Bishop. Is there a world where you think that is even stronger of a possibility now, since we are missing on the depth chart from that perspective? What are you thinking there?
Yeah, you subtract from the depth chart. Mike Edwards is a veteran by rule, so it makes it a lot more possible. Everyone's like, he's not going to be any good. He's lost a step. He's not going to come in and play 100%.
Yeah, he's not going to be a starter.
He's going to be inactive on game days. If another injury happens, they maybe feel more comfortable going to him in primetime spots than they would a rookie in this season specifically. It's Cole Bishop's job week 1 next year, 100%. Now, crunch time this year with an injury, if one of the 2 starters gets hurt, I bet you they would feel more comfortable with Micah Hyde in the game. However, is he cleared medically? What kind of, I would assume he's still in great shape. He knows the defense inside and out. And he could even come to the practice squad. I mean, ultimately, they do have Kareem Jackson, who's an interesting veteran himself, who's done the same thing Micah Hyde has at varying strengths. That kind of redundant, to be honest. Kareem Jackson, definitely somebody that I think probably is the immediate 4th safety right now. And Lewis Cine is another linebacker, but a lot of people are saying Lewis Cine, but he's a linebacker. They converted him. He is fully a dime backer, sub-package guy. Now he's not a safety. So he would be a guy that would come in if Cam Lewis got hurt, if a Jamarcus Ingram got hurt. That's when you might see a Lewis Cine. But Kareem Jackson's really the 4th safety right now. I was told that Damar Hamlin just straight up beat out Mike Edwards, and then he became redundant. So if he can't play special teams, the Bills didn't expect Damar Hamlin to win a starting job, period. They didn't. It wasn't like McDermott's secret plan to play Damar Hamlin. It really wasn't. They wouldn't have given Mike Edwards any money.
Yeah.
But he did literally earn the job because
Yeah.
how well he played in the spring and the
Yeah.
summer. And the Bills were like, you know what? Like, he knows this defense. He's actually, some analytics will say he's playing pretty well. He's only allowed 1 touchdown in coverage and 2 interceptions, obviously some gifts.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
58 passer rating. Like, the numbers are decent.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
The Bills said, you know what? He knows it. Mike Edwards can't play special teams. He's out of here. I mean, that's ultimately how it went. And Damar Hamlin was on this roster to play special teams. They weren't expecting him to win the job. And due to the injuries, he won the job. But next year it goes to Cole Bishop.
See, I think with the community, because like for some reason, like he is hated. Like Hamlin is hated. Like
he is hated. Yeah, he is.
Like everyone, for some reason, they're just like, get that bum off this roster. I want him nowhere near here. And like what I tried saying last stream, I said, look, like maybe Sean McDermott does have like a small part of him that likes to go with loyalty of people that have been on this roster before. But if Mike Edwards was out there completely destroying Damar Hamlin in training camp and clearly the right answer for the position, he would have won the job. He would have won the job. He only would have gave the nod based off of loyalty if it was close, like very hard that the naked eye wouldn't be able to determine the difference between the production. So I'm sitting here and I'm like, look, guys, as much as we don't like Damar Hamlin because we're still pissed off at that fake punt, which wasn't even his fault, all right, wasn't his call, all right, doesn't mean that he was better than Mike Edwards, all right? He was probably better than him. That's why he's out there. Sean loves loyalty to his players, but just watch him like completely phase out some rookies when they fumble the football or they make some sort of mistake. He's not that guy. So is Damar a Pro Bowler? No.
No,
is he
absolutely
safety for the position on this roster right now? Yes, he is.
And his analytics are fine. Like we're the people that are really struggling that may be McDermott players that I don't think should get any more reps. Balin Spector has been awful. He's one of the worst linebackers literally in the league based on what I've seen in the film I've seen in his analytics. He's awful. So he's definitely somebody. He's not playing right now, thankfully, but he's terrible. He's had a bad season. I would go to Buffalo Joe, or I would even go to Olafosio. I wouldn't go back.
Has Joe been playing good? Has Joe been playing decent?
He doesn't have a lot of snaps to really make a decision one way or the other, and at least in any meaningful minutes. I think Buffalo Joe has probably single-digit defensive snaps, 17 defensive snaps. So not really enough to say against backups on top of it. So he's actually been good in coverage in his 6 coverage snaps. But other than that, there's really nothing you can say there. And then the other name is Cam Lewis. He hasn't been good. He had a good game early on this season. But his numbers, they don't look great. So he's definitely a weaker link. And Carter, Dwayne Carter, I know he's got a hive. He hasn't played good. So it's tough for me because I like the player and he's flashed. But honestly, on a game-to-game basis, I don't think he's a downgrade from whether it's Jefferson popping in. He hasn't been super good analytically right now. So that's definitely been something that's been concerning. But Hamlin isn't great, but definitely has played solid medium tier football to where he's definitely starting level. He's not special team level safety play. Though some of those other guys have been more of the issues defensively for the Bills that you have to watch out for if you're actually trying to look for like what's going on the roster. And then the Eli Ankuth stuff, like he made one play. I don't know why people love that guy. And then hate on the rest of the roster. Like Anku made literally one play and people love him. And they're like, no, they should never have given a roster spot to Quentin Jefferson's a better football player.
Yeah. Dude, love to see it. Folks, thank you so much for tuning in to another edition. Dom Mafia Live Monday through Friday at 11 a.m. EST and 5:15 p.m. EST. Kevin, I really appreciate you, man.
Anytime.
Kevin has a show tonight, don't you?
I do. Yeah, I have a show in at least a little bit.
Has a show over on the Built in Buffalo Network, folks. Always go on ahead and give him some love over there. Does a great job. He's a regular guest on my show. So make that happen. Folks, smash that like button, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and we will see you next time.